Birds of Prey is the 8th installment in the DC Extended Universe. Does DC finally get Harley Quinn right on screen? And is the rest of the movie any good? Let's find out. What's up, it's Film Frenzy, and today I am reviewing the first superhero film of 2020. This is Birds of Prey. Let's get right into this review with my first category, direction and visuals. So I'm going to start really positive with this one. Direction and visuals is just flat out amazing. That's probably maybe my highest praise for this film is Cathy Yan's directorial style. She had a really firm tone and a really good grasp on what she wanted, not just like in the thematic tone that I'll talk about later, but in terms of the visual style of the film. There's so many like superhero movies these days. It's such a great testament to how well it did in terms of that, like, it stands out. Like, it's a very distinctly original superhero film. By no means perfect, which I'll talk about later, but gosh, does it look just amazing on the screen. I mean, my favorite parts of the film are probably when it gets really trippy with the visuals and kind of psychedelic in a really cool way. Like, maybe my favorite, like, 10 seconds of the film were when, like, Harley Quinn's, like, interrogating and she's getting beat up, and she has these, like, fantasies of this, like, kind of like Broadway style, like, but kind of demonic, like, musical performance, and it's just so warped and crazy, and Black Mask is there. That was an insane part, and that just left my eyes just glued to the screen. I wish there was more of that, but the final action sequence and the big set piece there was pretty amazing too. I'm not going to spoil that, but it looked insane and really, really awesome. The fight sequences I thought were excellent. There was a car chase towards the end that was very unique and very different than most car chases. I'm not going to say why again, but I'm telling you, that's something to look forward to. And throughout the film, it has this very bright but kind of like dark undertones with like just the visual color scheme. And I thought that was really, really cool. And you could tell that the directorial style, like, she really understood the characters and had each like actress or actor portray their characters really, really well. And just throughout the film, I thought that there weren't really any big like directorial mistakes. Though besides one thing which kind of like blurs the line between direction and visuals and the story elements category, which I'll talk about later, but I'll talk about it here. And it's the fact that, yes, I know this movie is kind of ridiculous and almost kind of downright like dumb at times, but in a good way. But sometimes it's kind of bad in the sense that they have like these, like, let's say Harley Quinn, or like towards the end when they all unite, like the 5 like female protagonists or whatever, and they go against like maybe 150 of the best mercenaries and like henchmen in Gotham, and like just like throughout the movie when they're defeating these people, it doesn't really make sense. Like, I understand that like Harley Quinn and Black Canary and like Renee Montoya are all like great fighters and stuff, but like, come on, like they literally beat every single person, and it seems like often it's with ease, and it just doesn't stack up because this film, like, they don't really have superpowers, and I know it's not like a realistic superhero film. This isn't like Captain America Winter Soldier or anything, and it's definitely not like very gritty, but like, can you be a little realistic? Like, when Deadpool fights, he gets like beaten up pretty bad, and if he didn't have the regenerative ability, he would have died a million friggin' times. But nope, here, like, it's like impossible. Like Harley Quinn goes against all these massive mercenaries who like seem like they should be really well trained and guns and stuff, and she defeats them all, and then like she fights against Renee Montoya and she gets locked up. It doesn't stack up that this like drunk police person would be able to just like defeat her when like these guys that have like trained and stuff for like fighting for like decades and stuff. I mean, these are like heavily trained like Black Mask henchmen or like crime bosses and stuff, and she can all defeat them. It just, I don't know. That was just my personal complaint with it, that sometimes the just action, like, it would take you out of these amazing action sequences that did look amazing, but like when you think about them, it's just so unrealistic. And yeah, I know the movie is ridiculous, but that was probably my sole criticism with this direction and visuals. So for this category, I'm still giving it a really solid 4.5 out of 5. Now it's time to discuss acting and character development. So the acting in this film, like I said before, with Cathy Yan's directing, was really phenomenal. She understood the characters, and she had great casting, great actors to play them. I thought all the actors that were hired perfectly embodied their characters. Of course, we all knew Margot Robbie is great as Harley Quinn. She knows what the hell she's doing, and it's awesome to see that. I thought Black Canary was great, Renee Montoya was great, Huntress, even though it was a small role, she did a great job. Cassandra Cain was great. And of course, I think something that kind of came out of surprise, well, first off was Victor Zsasz. I didn't know he was going to have this big of a role in it, because in Gotham, he's kind of just that crazy henchman that comes up sometimes. He had a decent sized role in this, and he was really, really well played by the actor. I'm not sure who he was, but great job. But the one that was really awesome was Ewan McGregor as Black Mask. They gave him a lot of development, and he was a very different style villain. So this is when I'm going to start talking about some like character development and stuff, but he played him perfectly. Ewan McGregor threw himself into this role, and he just knocked it out of the park. This is like one of my favorite superhero villains, like, of all time, probably, just because of how crazy he was. He offers a very different side with the flamboyant, like, narcissism, and he's just psychotic in like the best way in his relationship with Victor Zsasz and his henchmen and all the people and like his enemies and stuff is just crazy. Like, they go outside of the box with him, and I mean, it fits the tone of the movie perfectly. He was a standout because these types of movies, which I'll talk about like really soon, in that they don't develop lots of the heroes that well. The fact that they have a really excellent developed villain, even though he doesn't have growth throughout the film, that's fine. I think that's really important to the movie, and it really adds a lot to it. He didn't need growth, and I thought they did a perfect job with Black Mask. Really love seeing him on screen for his first time like ever in a screen appearance. Very, very cool. And then talking about some of the protagonists, we have Harley Quinn, who, my big complaint with her is, yes, she's very well developed and stuff, but she doesn't have like much growth, and there are very few arcs of the main characters throughout the story. Yes, she changes a little bit, but she's the same person. I guess that's realistic in the fact that like she is a terrible person, and all these people just, their behavior is very immoral, and that's a problem I have a bit with the film, in that they paint him as the protagonist, and I know that like it's supposed to be like that way, that they do a lot of bad things, but most of these characters are very bad people, and it's kind of problematic when this is supposed to be like an empowering movie, because I think there's better ways to show it. For me at least, I think the best empowering movies are when they show character growth and someone has a lot of flaws and they work past them throughout the film. This was more like just reckless abandonment of morals and just like doing crazy things, and yes, sometimes they do good things, and that was really good to see. And they don't really take no for an answer in terms of just like, they don't have a boss and stuff. They do their own thing, which is great also to see. But I feel like they don't have that development or like the moral like ground that's necessary to make these movies truly empowering. Like, I didn't feel for any of these characters, which I think is a huge problem. And that's going to talk about a big amount in the story elements category, is I really wasn't emotionally invested in this film. Yeah, I thought it was like really funny often at times, and I mean, I was really engrossed in certain characters like Black Mask, and I thought Huntress was hilarious, even though she had like basically nothing to do, and was just more of a punchline. And like, characters like Black Canary, they offered a glimpse into it, and she did have like some of Immortal Center. Same with Renee Montoya. They were interesting, but I feel like they didn't dive enough, and that's partially because it's not a very long film. And again, I'll talk about later, there's a bunch of subplots, so it's hard to handle, but I feel like they sacrificed some of the development of some of these side characters, and that was really, really unfortunate to see, because like, they spend so much time on Harley Quinn, who we kind of already know what she's like, and they don't really change our perception of her at all. She doesn't have a ton of growth, so it's unfortunate. I feel like they kind of mishandled the character development of this film, and yeah, I mean, there are some characters that I thought were developed, like Black Mask and Harley Quinn, of course, but they didn't have the growth, and then other characters weren't developed at all that much, and that was just very unfortunate, but the acting is still phenomenal. So for this category, I'll be giving Birds of Prey still a very, very solid 3 out of 5. Finally, it's time to talk about the story elements of plot, pacing, script, and theme. I always view the plot elements as the most important category, and of course, like most films, it's a mixed bag with Birds of Prey. We're going to start with the plot, and I alluded to this earlier, but they do struggle with a lot of subplots, and they don't do a terrible job with it, largely by having a very innovative style of pacing and just like structure to the film, which was really cool. Think about like Deadpool, how like it starts kind of like a little bit like, you know, like maybe a third into the movie, then rewinds and goes through that. This is like that on steroids, by doing that multiple times and jumping around, and maybe it can be a little hard to follow, but like after like a split second, I was able to get it and pick up, oh, this is where they're going with it. And I like that chaotic feel to it, because it kind of like, I like when the structure kind of embodies and is like a almost like a representation of like the thematic like in tones and story elements of the film, which I thought was really, really cool to see. I think Kathy Ann really understood her film and knew how to make it very just like focused in regards to like it being unfocused and crazy, if that makes any sense. She knew what she was doing and the tone and the style of film she wanted to make. I just think that sometimes it does fall short of what it could be, but I do think her vision was fully realized, which is really great. In terms of the plot, yeah, I talked about there's a lot of subplots. It's difficult to handle, but I think she mostly pulled it off, and I think largely that's due to the pacing being kind of frenetic and all over the place, which works for the movie's favor. Usually that would not be a good thing, but like I talked about, I think it works here because it embodies the film. But sometimes, like, plots get left behind and are a little underdeveloped, just like the characters that maybe that plot aligned with. But I mean, that's what we gotta expect with a film like this. I do think maybe they did spend a bit too much time with Harley Quinn because, like I said, they didn't change her character too much, so it wasn't really necessary, especially if you've seen Suicide Squad, because she's, like, probably the most salvageable part of that movie. So that was a bit unfortunate. I wish they could spend more time with other Birds of Prey and other subplots, but still the plot was pretty focused, and yeah, it is a predictable MacGuffin-style plot where they're all searching for this one device or like this one object, but they make it very interesting in how they put that object kind of like inside a person. I'm not going to say anymore, but I thought that was kind of a unique spin on it and very humorous. And I did think it was cool that they kind of like jumbled that typical plot up with their like pacing and structure of the film, but it's still kind of a typical style plot that did suffer from a bit too many subplots that went underdeveloped. I think this movie honestly could use some extra length because it goes by fast. It's very enjoyable, which leads me to what I'm going to talk about here in terms of the script. And it is really funny. Almost all the jokes click, and I didn't think it was very repetitive. They used some really clever visual gags, and I thought the movie did a really good job with that. The humor is very clever usually, and it's one of the most engaging parts of the movie because, like, even though it's not a full comedy, there is some drama. I thought the drama was kind of mediocre. It was never bad because largely it was well acted, and there were some good lines here and there, but it feels like the drama was almost kind of like an awkward pivot from the comedy, and I would just prefer just more of the comedy because I feel like that would make it feel just like more like level overall in terms of the tone and stuff. But overall, I think Kathy Ann did mostly nail the tone, and I mean, that's shown through in the writing. The script was very, like, just on point the entire time and kept you very, very engaged. That was, like, the most fun about the film. Besides, the visual and directorial style, I thought that the script was just so exciting and fun to watch. Like, to play out, I thought they really didn't have any, like, cringy or bad lines, which is good. And even though some of the drama was a little stale, the comedy really saves this movie, and I think that makes it a great watch, and that makes the plot, like, kind of okay, that, yeah, it's kind of basic, but because they turn it on its head, and they use some really great lines, it makes it interesting, and keeps you throughout, and I thought, though I was skeptical about Harley Quinn narrating the entire thing, I thought that played out very well, and it worked really nice, and just, it's a reference and stuff, it fit throughout, which is really, really cool, and that brings me to themes, and that's what I talked about earlier, with how I didn't really feel for any of the characters. There's not much themes to get at here. This is one of the superhero films that I think is most void of themes of any I've seen. And that maybe it's about like female empowerment stuff, but that's not really like a theme, like a universal theme necessarily. I could say it's about self-empowerment and like independence and stuff, but to be honest, I don't think they did that great because the characters, like, they seem pretty independent from the beginning because of just how crazy they are. Like, a couple of them, like Black Canary, weren't as, and then they did, like, develop their own voice, which I thought was good. And they did do a decent job with that in developing, like, how they're, like, each of their, like, characters have, like, kind of parallels in their plot, how they were, like, that kind of defenseless and just kind of, like, marginalized female, and how then they rose in status and stuff and became their own person, which was cool. But because these characters have such like bad morals, like I talked about earlier, you don't really feel for them often. And even when they do good things, it's kind of, you know, it's a mixed bag and it feels more like comical and stuff. So I don't think they really nailed the emotional resonation. Not that they were going for it necessarily. I'm not really sure. Obviously, I mean, I'm not one of the filmmakers, of course, but I thought that could have been done a lot better because thematically I thought it was very weak. Which, I mean, honestly, it didn't really take away from the film. It could have been a lot more. And so for this category, it's a mixed bag again. I think the script was really great. Themes, it's not really any. The plot was basic, but the pacing and like the structure was really cool. I'm giving you a solid 3.5 out of 5 for plot, pacing, script, and theme with story elements. So, my overall score. How does this movie fit in the massive canon of superhero films, the DC Extended Universe? How is it? I think it found a great niche for itself, and I think it's a cool movie. It's definitely weird and very unpredictable, which is awesome. It's a fun watch. It's a movie I want to watch again. It's a movie I suggest y'all watch in theaters because it is a cool movie just visually to see. So at big screen, it's perfect. I think that's really great. And I thought it was interesting how it left room for, I think, a sequel, but it was like its own movie, and how like the characters, like they're not like the Avengers where they group from the beginning. It's kind of like they group at the end, which is very different, and again, one of the unpredictable things about this movie. And so I think that was really cool, and it leaves it perfect for like a Birds of Prey movie that's actually a Birds of Prey movie, not just like a sort of Harley Quinn, sort of Birds of Prey movie. But overall, it was a fun watch. I'm giving Birds of Prey, wait for it, 3.5 out of 5. Yeah, it is not the best superhero movie by any means, and it could have been a lot better, and maybe if they made it a little longer and a bit more emotion and stuff. But I thought they did a really good job what they had, and they turned, you know, a character that was developed from Suicide Squad, a god-awful movie, into something that was a really fun watch, and one of the strongest outings in the DC Extended Universe, and really pushes that they're done with the days of, like, Batman v Superman, where they had this bleak and kind of crappy, like, aesthetic that felt very just monotone throughout. Now, each of these films offers a very unique, like, tone, and, like, has their own little corner of the massive, like, superhero universe of all, like, the Marvel characters and the DC characters, whether it's Aquaman or Shazam or now Birds of Prey. They all have their unique spins and unique tones, so I thought it was really cool to see this movie have its own voice, which I think is perfect for the type of movie it is. I suggest you guys watch it. I hope you enjoy this review. Comment down below your opinions on Birds of Prey. Like and subscribe for more awesome Film Frenzy videos coming soon. I got my Oscar predictions and hopes video coming out soon, along with a ranking of all the DC Extended Universe films. Ton to look forward to. I'll see you guys later. Film Frenzy signing off. Goodbye.